Most memorable moment I had skiing was at Snowbird. I was taking a weekend workshop, and it was a huge, this is about 6 years ago, and there was a huge dump that weekend of snow, and enough snow that we were interlodged, meaning you're locked into the building. You can't even leave because of the avalanche danger. And so we were all sitting out looking through the windows, and finally one morning, this was over a whole weekend, there was one whole day we missed with skiing. The next morning, they said, okay, we're going to open the hill. They're going to open the hill, open the lifts at 10. So we all truck. I go trucking out and take my ride up. And the snow is just epic. It's just epic snow. It had snowed like 3 feet in a day. And so I'm skiing along looking for some first tracks, and I come to a hill, or come to a pitch, and and the rope is across. But I see the ski patrol standing there. They dropped the rope, which means they opened it, right? And I'm the only person there. And so I skied down this pitch, perfect powder skiing up to my chest. And people at the bottom there were some people at the bottom of the pitch, and they cheered as I came down the hill, and that was like the biggest moment. I mean, it's true powder. It was epic. It was great.
Everything must change.
And I started skiing after my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and I did it to she was diagnosed right around Christmas, and I did it because my brother was skiing at the time. I wanted something to just kind of keep my mind off, the stuff that was going on. It was a stress reliever, really, and I would ski with my brother a lot. The first year when our mother was very sick, we would get together, and my brother had some other personal things going on in his life, and in addition, and we would ride the lift and just talk. I mean, and talk in a way that we had never talked before in our lives. He's a bit older than me, and so we never were close, but this brought us so close together, and the situation with my mom, it was just, it was just a way to kind of work it out. And then we'd ski, and we'd be on the lift, and then we'd ski, and it would be like a way to kind of punctuate it all and, work it out. And also, I was just learning to ski at the time, so it was, it was challenging, and it was, it was fun. It was fun. It was fun.
I started skiing here. My brother brought me here when I was 11 years old, and that was in 1971. Once I became an expert double diamond skier, then an extreme skier, was able to drop off 40-foot cliffs on my skis and land and walk away from it, And then rock climbing is being 1,000 feet off the ground, standing on something the size of a quarter, on a vertical piece of rock, and you're sitting there and you look down and go, wow, what a great place to be. Although you can make one mistake and you're going to fall 60 feet, become incredibly incapacitated physically, or you make it to the next point and you get to your belay station and you go, wow, that was incredibly great. But your adrenaline level is so high. I mean, it's the most incredible high that you could ever have. I don't think there's any drug on the planet that could replace the kind of adrenaline surge you get from dropping off a 40-foot cliff on your skis and landing and making it, or being up in Yosemite and being 1,000 feet off the ground and knowing that you've climbed from point A to point B, and you're there and you did it all on your own with just your physical strength. And all the odds that are against you, which is anything that could happen, you could slip, lose a foothold or something, you could fall and sustain an incredibly life-threatening injury. But that's my thing. It's adrenaline, and I lived and breathed that for 20 years. And I believe that adrenaline is the best drug in the world. I don't know why these kids are smoking weed, getting drunk, doing coke, ecstasy, Molly, whatever it is they got to do to get high. You go out and get on a big cliff, on a 510. You get out there and you're all out in the open, and the only thing that's sustaining you is you. It's all about you. Everything you do is what's going to sustain you right there at that point in your life. And I think that is the greatest adrenaline surge that anybody could ever experience. Well, mostly directly infected, you know, from the lack of moisture and snow is the ski area itself. And a lot of the people in this community, the owners of the Mount Baldy Lodge, Snowcrest, and things like that, they're all intertwined within running the ski area. So a lot of these businesses in town here depend on a big ski year. That's where they make money in their businesses, as the people flood, you know, they flood this place thousands at a time when there's a lot of snow. This year we didn't have that, so we lost a huge amount of revenue due to the lack of snow from not only skiers and snowboarders, but from hikers and just people coming up with their children to play in the snow. I mean, they would come by the thousands to just play in the snow, and this year there wasn't any. So we lost all that business, and the community here in town, the Mount Baldy Lodge and like the Buckhorn Lodge here, which we're right next to, were greatly affected. But this year, following up the last two previous years of 2011 and 2012, which were also drought-stricken years. So we're going on, this is our third year now, and this being the worst of the 3 years as far as amount of rainfall that we've had. And it's affecting not only us and the ski industry that we're involved in, but the actual water that California needs for irrigation, for growing crops in the Central Valley. My main interest in my life and what I do for a living is operate a ski resort. So moisture and rain and things like that are very important to not just me as a person, but to our company, to the ski area, as far as getting snow. And that also adds to water pack, which adds to this stream that you're looking at right here, which I guide on, and I teach fishing, fly fishing, and traditional cast fishing. As far as the ski resort goes, this year is probably the worst year that we've had in over 30 years. It's not so much we didn't have snowmaking capabilities, because we still have snowmaking capabilities, but we are limited to our water. You know, I mean, we only have so many gallons of water that we have for snowmaking. We depend more on snow from heaven.
I was in a big thunderstorm when I was in high school backpacking with my dad, and I was like, I'm sick of this. I need to know what the weather's going to do. And that's kind of when I decided to become a meteorologist. I got into this profession because of skiing, and I still work in this profession because of skiing. And it's great to work on snow and weather prediction. I always tell people, you know, we like to get funding and do good science, but at the end of the day, I really just want to know when the next big dump is coming. I've been writing this blog called the Wasatch Weather Weenies, and it's probably 3 or 4 years old now at this point. And we just talk about all sorts of stuff related to mountain weather. And sometimes it's Utah focused, sometimes it's elsewhere, and sometimes we just talk about the weather. It just depends on what's going on. Yesterday I talked a little bit about some of the forecast challenges for the weekend, how that might impact the weather. We talked about global warming on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So I did a post there talking about how global warming hasn't stopped. A lot of people think it has because the average surface temperature around the Earth has kind of plateaued, right? Or has its rate of rise has slowed a little bit in the last few years. But when you look at ocean temperatures and how ice is changing and that sort of thing, it's pretty clear that global warming is continuing unabated. So I have a little post on that, kind of telling people that that's what's going on. So it's whatever's exciting going on outside. We're trying to teach people about the weather and the climate, and we're trying to use real-world examples. Cell phones, smartphones are great for this because I can be walking around, and if I see something really exciting, I can take a video or a picture of it, and then that becomes the next blog post. So there are certain indicators that have really strongly shifted. When we look at, for example, the number of days where we break a maximum temperature, say in the United States, for every 2 maximum temperature records we set, we only set 1 minimum temperature record, so there's this shift. I like to tell people that the climate system is has certain things, modes that we get into that allow, that do affect the weather to some degree, but I don't like to think of it as being cyclical because that implies it's repeatable. So it's more chaotic than that. But we're in the very early stages of this global warming phenomenon, and we've been lucky so far. I mean, things haven't changed that fast. That's had a huge impact on upper elevation skiing. But we have to see where things go in the next few decades.
What does it mean to me? What it means to me is I think that we've been very greedy and consuming, and that I don't know if it's Mother Nature, if she has that kind of power, but Mother Nature is kind of telling us that, I don't know if you'd say getting even with us, or maybe she's slapping us on the hand, because I do believe that I believe it's real, and a lot of people are suffering tremendously from it. Mm-hmm. But those who don't want to believe it believe that it's cyclical. This, it's real. How that will impact us, I'm afraid, certainly as Americans, that we often wait until it's too late. And that's the thing that sometimes I think, well, okay, I'm 72, I may not see it, I mean, and you go, oh, phew. But at the same time, you have your kids and your grandkids who will. And whether or not we do a whole lot to prevent it, I'm not sure. And I think sometimes I don't even think about, it's interesting because it's not so much this world or this earth for my kids and my grandkids, but more so just for the earth. Why do I, or people in general, or just me, or because it's a lot of fun. I really love to ski, and I think maybe that's, that's why I think maybe that I like it when it's a little better groomed, because the other problem is I like to go fast. And so, and that's like, aside from behind the wheel of a car, which is a little bit dangerous, I think it's just, you never go that fast in anything else you do in your daily life. I mean, I can't knit fast, God knows, and I can't run fast, and so I love it. I mean, there's nothing better, just to be at the top of a hill and just know that you're just flying. The very, very, very best is on days of inversion, and then that's exciting because you just get out of this crud here. It feels just thick all around you, though. Like, say, I can look out my window and it's not going to be that way, but it just, when you look over on, across the valley. And then you go up there and, oh man, the sky is blue and the sun is shining and the air is clear, and you just, even if you just go and ride the lift, just to breathe. There's an expression, I think if I remember, there's an expression in this country that we say, let's ride, is that, but that was several years ago. Oh, it's still now? Okay. So in France, they say, on surfe.